just to feel the silence, can feel how when the attention is upon it, the sensitivity and relationship to it grows. Eventually, the feeling of silence is much more powerful than the perception of noise. Like being in the deep forest during heavy snowfall, where the feeling of silence blankets sound. And the sense of peace pervades everything. Feeling of well-being is felt inseparably from the silence. Silence becomes the avenue of communication as opposed to language. It's where all true communication lives, in the silence. Divine communication, as compared to egoic communication. It's all alive in the feeling of silence. The more you feel it, the more the silence is actually feeling the silence, which is what enables it to grow. Most everyone has tasted experience of being at Arunachala, where there is so much more noise than you ever experience here. And yet the silence is so profound that it does not cause the familiar sense of disturbance. It is not necessary to get away from noise. It is not necessary to get away from. The more the attention rests in the feeling of the silence, the more it is nurtured, nourished, greater sense of well-being, deep peace. Just as noise does not disturb silence, in fact, silence absorbs noise, like in a heavy snowfall. But all perception does not disturb silence either. Bodies, comings and goings, experiencing pleasure and pain. It does not disturb the feeling of silence. But when the attention gets rooted, the silence absorbs all of the things that normally create the experience of disturbance. Just to feast on the feeling, the sense of well-being that lives in the feeling of ever-growing silence.
I've been struggling with trust, like specifically around India, because it's not clear if it's going to be possible. And the less clear it becomes, the stronger the pull. And India's a piece of it. I'm struggling to trust.
What else are you struggling to trust?
Just the unfolding of all of this.
What does the distrust say?
That I need stability. The grasping for something predictable.
I was under the idea that you've lived this life that is like completely on the edge of having nothing and just moving based on trust.
Yeah. And yet somehow it's still the doubt. The trust wavers. Like it's almost like it doesn't matter how many times grace reveals itself. There's still.
Yes, I understand. The nature of mind is to distrust. The issue is not the mind's distrust. That is its nature. The issue is the identification when it comes up. You cannot be freed if you are not freed from the habits that cause identification. And your life is about stability. What the mind sees as stable is hanging on a thread. It's just so numbed out. It does not recognize how insanely fragile it all is. But this is all about true stability. Trust does not come from the mind, it comes from yourself.
At what point is grasping at something like Arunachala, like being there for this retreat, being there for this pilgrimage, it's still a grasping? Or is that different?
than what?
Than the grasping at any other
No.
object in the play or experience
No,
in
it
the
is
play.
not different than grasping at any other object. There is a very big difference between grasping and the wild passion of the connection itself. And then the mind comes in and it says, that is something somewhere. What you can trust, whether the mind trusts it or not, is that whatever plays is in the highest accord for you. It's all set up to free you, not to free the mind. It's impossible. To free you from personal relationship with something that is imaginary.
Gratitude is like such like a minuscule word to capture what I feel for all that you give. Thank you so much.
Yes, I feel this in you.
Offering this. I'd like to offer you scones with clotted cream and homemade strawberry jam, like the ones in Ireland that were indescribably delicious. I'd like to offer you a bouquet of exotic flowers, delicate and fragrant in the fullness of bloom, to place on your kitchen table and delight your senses. I'd like to offer you prayer beads and silk shawls and crocheted slippers to warm your feet in recognition of the grace you bestow so freely on all those who seek you out. Instead, I offer you my broken places, numbed and unseen, hidden away behind closed doors, trusting that you will tenderly hold and care for them until they begin to mend of their own accord in the light of love. I offer you the longing of my open heart as a token of my unfathomable gratitude for the truths revealed in the silence, beyond all thought, beyond all words. I offer you just this, the boundless sacred space within, where all paths converge, and we find one another in true communion as one, here and now, always and forever.
Sense of wholeness, peace, lives in the feeling of silence. solitary presence of silence. That infuses everything. Felt with the heart as the heart. The more deeply there is the feeling into this, the more the silence grows. More the peace, ease grows. The more the sense of centerlessness grows. More the flavor of timelessness grows. More the infinite feeling of your being grows. There is so much wisdom in the silence, beyond the mind's comprehension.